So hello everyone and welcome to this session on posterior triangle of neck. Now when we look at the neck from lateral side, this is the mandible, okay, and I'll draw little below. This is the mandible, and then little behind here is mastoid, then the superior nuchal line, external occipital protuberance. This is the anterior midline of the neck. Below here is the clavicle, and coming from the superior nuchal line, coming down like this is the attachment of trapezius. So this is trapezius. This is midline of neck. Midline of neck. This is the base of the mandible. This is clavicle. So here we can see a quadrangle. Upper border is of course formed by mandible, mastoid, superior nuchal line upwards. This is anterior border of trapezius. This is trapezius. So here this quadrangle is seen. Bisecting this quadrangle runs a muscle like this, and the name of that muscle is sternocleidomastoid. This sternocleidomastoid divides the quadrangle, divides this quadrangle into two triangles. This triangle is called as anterior triangle, okay, and this triangle here is called as posterior triangle. So behind sternocleidomastoid is posterior triangle, anterior to sternocleidomastoid is anterior triangle. Now what happens is here somewhere is hyoid bone. Here somewhere is hyoid bone. And the omohyoid muscle runs like this. The omohyoid muscle runs like this. It has two bellies. This is the inferior belly of omohyoid. Inferior belly of omohyoid, and this omohyoid goes and gets attached to hyoid, okay, and this is the superior belly of omohyoid. Now this muscle omohyoid divides the posterior triangle into two parts: a larger occipital triangle and a smaller subclavian triangle. This subclavian triangle is also called as greater supraclavicular fossa. So what is lesser supraclavicular fossa? Here are the two attachments of sternocleidomastoid. The sternocleidomastoid, as the name suggests, has origin from sterno, that is manubrium, cleido, that is clavicle. Sternocleidomastoid. And this space between the two heads of the sternocleidomastoid is called as lesser supraclavicular fossa. Lesser supraclavicular fossa. And this triangle is called as subclavian triangle, this entire triangle, and also called as greater supraclavicular fossa. Posterior triangle is divided by inferior belly of omohyoid into occipital triangle and subclavian triangle. The neck looks like a quadrangle with mandible, then midline of neck, clavicle, and trapezius. And omohyoid divides this quadrangle into occipital triangle and subclavian triangle. Now let us study that which are the structures which are forming the roof, which structures are forming the floor of the suboccipital triangle. Of the posterior triangle. Now posterior triangle, the roof will be formed mainly firstly by the skin, and then there will be superficial fascia. Even when you studied the femoral triangle, you studied popliteal fossa. In the roof, there was skin and superficial fascia. And that time also I told you, if you just write skin, superficial fascia, deep fascia, you may not get marks. Of course, here it's only the superficial fascia, deep fascia forms the floor. It's always superficial fascia containing, because superficial fascia will contain many structures and they will be counted as the part of the roof. Like for example, here there is a muscle called as platysma, the muscle of the neck. Then there will be external jugular vein. We saw the formation of the external jugular vein, that how it is formed by the union of the facial vein and anterior division of the retromandibular vein. Okay, common facial vein unites to with anterior division of uh, retromandibular vein to form external jugular vein, which drains into the subclavian triangle. So that external jugular vein will be there, and it will be coming somewhere here where there will be subclavian vein, and it will be draining into the subclavian. Then there will be nerves. These nerves will be there in the as content also of the triangle, and these nerves will be there as structures in the roof also. So what are the names of these nerves? These are supraclavicular nerves. Supraclavicular nerves. These are all branches of cervical plexus. You have studied brachial plexus. Now you have studied lumbar plexus, femoral nerve branch of lumbar plexus. You have studied sacral plexus, where sciatic nerve is the branch. Now we come across a plexus called as cervical plexus. And there are this main four branches of the cervical plexus, which you will be seeing here, and they are lying in the roof of this spine. We have come across the names of these when we studied the nerve supply of the scalp and face. So their names are mostly occipital or auricular. So here we have a nerve called as lesser occipital. Okay, nerve lesser occipital. Then there is a nerve greater auricular. So going to the angle of the mandible, greater, which supplies the angle of mandible, greater auricular. Then there is a nerve called as the which goes anteriorly and going transversely. So we call it anterior cutaneous nerve. So this is anterior cutaneous nerve. And then these are the supraclavicular nerves. Supraclavicular nerves, they go like this. So they are above the clavicle. So there is medial, intermediate, and lateral supraclavicular nerve. Medial, intermediate, and lateral supraclavicular nerve. If you remember still the clavicle and the characteristics of the clavicle, one of the characteristic of the clavicle, we said it is pierced by the lateral supraclavicular nerve. So this is the supraclavicular nerve. So these are the contents, and they are also there in the roof. In the roof also there are lymph nodes. There are lymph nodes lying like this along the posterior border of sternocleidomastoid. Then there are some arteries in the roof also. Okay, that transverse cervical artery and suprascapular artery. I'll revise again the branches of the cervical plexus: lesser occipital nerve, greater auricular nerve, anterior cutaneous nerve of the neck, and three supraclavicular nerves. This you are supposed to see during the dissection. Three supraclavicular. So that's about the roof, the structures lying in the roof. So mainly platysma, external jugular vein, then nerve, supraclavicular nerve, greater auricular nerve, lesser occipital nerve, anterior cutaneous nerve of the neck. Then there were lymph nodes. Then there are arteries. the supraclavicular artery, right? There is this supraclavicular artery and few other arteries which are present in the transverse cervical artery, occipital artery. They are, some of them are forming the content and some of them are there in the roof also. Okay, so arteries, there is transverse cervical artery, occipital artery. So these are the arteries which are there in the roof also, and they are forming the contents. So nerves, I told you, lymph node, artery. Now let us talk about the floor. So now I'm not drawing the anterior triangle, I'm just drawing the posterior triangle. So somewhere here is the ear, this is the sternocleidomastoid, okay, and here is the anterior border of trapezius. So this is sternocleidomastoid, anterior border of trapezius, and here is the clavicle. Okay, this clavicle will be going ahead of clavicle. So what are the boundaries of the posterior triangle? Anteriorly is the posterior border of sternocleidomastoid. Posteriorly is the anterior border of trapezius. Inferiorly is the clavicle. The floor will be formed by the investing layer of the deep cervical. Sorry. It will be formed by the prevertebral layer of the deep cervical fascia. Rather, in the roof, whenever we studied the structures in the roof, we name the structures in the roof, and we said skin, superficial fascia containing all these structures, and then the investing layer. So investing layer of the deep cervical fascia will be there in the roof, and prevertebral layer will be there in the prevertebral layer is the floor. So basically deep fascia, normally we saw everywhere the deep fascia was there in the roof, skin, superficial fascia, deep fascia. Now here what is happening is, here deep fascia has multiple layers. So one of the layers, that is the investing layer, it is going to form the roof, and prevertebral layer, the prevertebral layer will be forming the floor. But as we already discussed in our section on the prevertebral layer, and that time we said that the prevertebral layer, we said the prevertebral layer covers the muscles in front of, it covers the muscles lying in the front of the vertebral column. What are these muscles? So starting from the top, mainly the muscle forming the floor, the most important muscle, and the name which you have heard of when you studied the upper limb, levator scapulae muscle. Then these two names which I am going to talk now, you have not heard their names, and that is splenius capitis. Capitis means going to the skull. Splenius capitis and semispinalis capitis. So these mainly form the floor of the occipital triangle. I'll repeat the names again: levator scapulae, splenius capitis, semispinalis capitis. They will be all covered by prevertebral layer. So when it comes to the posterior triangle, we say the posterior triangle floor is formed by prevertebral layer of the deep cervical fascia of the neck, covering levator scapulae, splenius capitis, and semispinalis capitis. Also, the floor is formed by some of these muscles and names of them also you have heard when you studied the thorax. And their name is Scalenus medius, Scalenus posterior, and then there is Scalenus anterior. Okay, the Scalenus anterior, and anterior to Scalenus anterior is the subclavian vein, and posterior is subclavian artery. And then there are the three trunks of the brachial plexus, right? These are the brachial plexus trunks. This is the subclavian artery. This is subclavian vein. Okay, so, and this is Scalenus anterior muscle, Scalenus medius muscle, and Scalenus posterior muscle. Anterior may not be there every time. Sometimes serratus anterior also slightly may come as its first digitation as a part of. So again, I'll repeat, the floor of the posterior triangle is mainly formed by the prevertebral layer of the deep cervical fascia covering these muscles. What are these muscles? Semispinalis capitis, splenius capitis, levator scapulae. On lying on the levator scapulae, you have heard of the nerve called a spinal accessory nerve. This spinal accessory nerve, it supplies the sternocleidomastoid, and after supplying the sternocleidomastoid, it runs like this. It runs like this and supplies the trapezius. So this is the spinal accessory nerve, one of the important content of the posterior triangle, one of the important anatomy you should know, because what will happen is if there is some abscess in this region and a doctor who does not know anatomy takes a cut here, it will cut the spinal accessory nerve which is supplying that trapezius. So once the trapezius is paralyzed, the overhead abduction of the shoulder will stop. The overhead abduction of the shoulder will stop, and also there will be no shrugging of shoulders. Okay, so shrugging of shoulders will not be possible. Shrugging of shoulders becomes difficult. Now let us talk about the contents of this triangle. I have almost told you the contents of this triangle. Like here only in diagram, in this diagram, you can see that the occipital, the subclavian triangle has subclavian veins, subclavian artery, the trunks of the brachial plexus. Okay. So here only we can see all these contents. The three trunks of the brachial plexus are there already over here. And in the occipital triangle, there are the nerves of the cervical plexus. So a very short formula to remember the contents of both these triangles. Here are the branches of cervical plexus. Here are the branches of brachial plexus. Branches of brachial plexus arising from the roots, and trunks only. Okay, I'll enlist you. The occipital triangle, which is the lower part of posterior triangle, has two parts because of the posterior belly of or the inferior belly of omohyoid divides it into two parts. This part is called as occipital triangle, and this part is called as subclavian triangle. As the name suggests, subclavian triangle, the contents are very clear. Subclavian artery, third part, subclavian vein, and the branches of the subclavian artery. Here we see the branches of the brachial plexus. Here we see the branches of the cervical plexus. Okay. Now let us unlist the contents of these two triangles. Let us list the contents of these two triangles. Okay. So this is occipital triangle, which is the greater part, and this is the subclavian triangle. This is the subclavian triangle. So let us start with nerves, because nerves are the important component. So spinal accessory nerve. Spinal accessory is the important component of this. Then what other nerves? We said branches of the cervical plexus. What were the branches of the cervical plexus? We saw lesser occipital, then greater auricular, then anterior cutaneous nerve of neck, Okay, and then supraclavicular nerve. What other branches are there? Here, there are branches supplying the levator scapulae muscle, then the branches supplying the trapezius. Okay, but mainly now to rhomboids. Now to rhomboid, the dorsal scapular nerve. Now, this is the only branch of the brachial plexus which is seen in the occipital triangle. Otherwise, I said majority of the brachial plexus content will be there in the subclavian triangle. What are the nerves in the subclavian triangle? Firstly, the three trunks of brachial plexus. Three trunks of brachial plexus. Then the nerves arising from the roots and the trunk, except for nerve to rhomboid. Nerve to rhomboids is the content of occipital triangle. What are those nerves? Nerve to serratus anterior, nerve to serratus anterior muscle, then nerve to subclavius and suprascapular nerve. And suprascapular nerve. So three trunks of brachial plexus, and there are four nerves which arise from it. Nerve to rhomboids, nerve to serratus anterior, nerve to subclavius, suprascapular nerve. Only the nerve to rhomboids is seen in occipital triangle. Otherwise, the three trunks, along with the nerves arising from the trunks and root, except for nerve to rhomboids, is seen here. While in the occipital triangle, we see spinal accessory nerve, the nerves of the cervical plexus, that is lesser occipital, greater auricular, anterior cutaneous nerve, supraclavicular nerves, three supraclavicular nerves, of course. The nerve to levator scapulae, nerve to rhomboids, nerve to trapezius. Okay. Then in the arteries, subclavian artery will be seen here, the third part. Okay. Then there is suprascapular artery, then transverse cervical artery. This transverse cervical artery will pass from the subclavian triangle to occipital triangle. Okay, transverse cervical artery. So will be seen here also. Occipital artery. Occipital artery is a branch from the external carotid and it's seen in the occipital triangle. So basically subclavian artery and its branches, but here only the transverse cervical artery coming from the subclavian to here, and occipital artery. So subclavian artery, occipital artery in occipital triangle. Very easy to remember which arteries. Occipital artery in occipital triangle, subclavian artery in subclavian triangle. Okay, so these are in short the contents of course there are some lymph nodes also, and the lymph nodes, they are seen along the posterior border of sternocleidomastoid. So they will be there in the occipital triangle more than compared to the subclavian. In the subclavian triangle, you get the supraclavicular lymph nodes. Supraclavicular lymph nodes. With that, we complete. With that, we complete our discussion on the posterior triangle. One of the applied anatomy component of the posterior triangle, which you have to remember, is that we have to be very careful while taking a cut along the posterior border of sternocleidomastoid, that we don't cut the spinal accessory now, otherwise overhead abduction is affected. Okay, so that's all about the posterior triangle of